that the duo lane has been an emphasis in the past when these two teams have met.
Agreed.
Specifically, Jade Dragons just looking to try and prevent Vote from having any sort of influence, and then they've also done it where they just like prioritize trying to just kill Nika, so they definitely enjoy playing through the side lanes, but I think here today we might see a little bit more emphasis towards that mid jungle, because Dardas, Cuvo, it's well known that their players still having to play off of ping, and in comparison to the likes of Sam and Hurrywin, who are already consistently strong mechanically, I can only imagine how much more difficult that becomes when you're trying to factor that in as well.
Well, mid jungle receive at least 1 or 2 bans. Tiamat for sure, mid lane ban. Osiris seen a little bit more out of the jungle. Osiris was being first picked throughout our entire first set. Is that just the world we live in now, where Osiris is just that good?
He's just a fairly strong god. He's got a lot of survivability with Lord of the Afterlife. He's a warrior, so you know his base scaling in the early to mid game, it definitely favors teams like Jade Dragons or the Oni Warriors, and it's also just his role flexibility as well.
Sure.
He's relatively vague if you first pick him. Like, I know we see him a lot in the jungle, but it's not always a guarantee, and teams having the advantage, so to say, of being like, oh, well, maybe it's jungle, maybe it's solo. You can try and find out, but either way, we're going to get to see what your draft looks like before we have to decide on where we want that pick to go. Gilgamesh, though, more or less, kind of the same situation.
Yeah, Gilgamesh absolutely in that similar conversation, and Gilgamesh a very, very good pick here. So we'll have to keep our eyes on how the rest of this draft goes for the Jade Dragons, and maybe some of the bans for the Oni Warriors as well. If we're still searching for an answer there, will give us an idea of where the Oni Warriors are leaning. How about this, though? Artemis gets taken away, and Heimdall then is the first pick up here for Vote. And it does feel like in some games where the Oni Warriors are, not to mince words, losing, but they're able to make their way later on into the game. Vote's on this Heimdall. He's played it 4 out of the last 6 games. Hasn't gone, well, outside of one game where he went 0-3, 4-1, 5-1, and then 2-1 on this Heimdall in recent games, so maybe worth the first pick for the Warriors.
I think that Vote just wants to try and prioritize his survivability, maybe anticipating the Jade Dragons looking to be unreasonably aggressive. I mean, it's just hard to get away from the Jade Dragons when they really want to commit to killing and focusing out a specific lane. And this Terra Giannis, Dolson, I think is only further insinuating the fact that Jade Dragons, they are looking to play the map pressure entirely in their favor. Earthen Fury as well, I think, and Terra in general, just going to be a nightmare possibly for the Oni Warriors to deal with. I'm looking mostly at the Serket because, yes, Serket, she does have the anti-heal option against the Terra directly, but having to deal with that Earthen Fury and all of the Sunlock potential is definitely a nightmare within itself.
What do we think here about this Artemis taco? Artio. Same idea, different ending. Artie. Lock in here for the Oni Warriors. We'll assume that is over to Neilma. We've seen plenty of variety in the support role, and maybe with the way that the bans have gone, you take away Yamoja, Ymir, and now Terra. Those are all picks that Neil would like to play. That fourth option now becomes the RDO. Do you think it works?
I'm not sold that the Jade Dragons are going to believe that this is fully intended for Neilma just yet. There's a chance that
so you're not fully buying into that either?
I'm not fully buying it, no. I think that Nika, like, RDO is an aggressive Guardian, and I think that in the current meta, she could fare relatively well with a lot of the itemization choices that are available to some of these solo Guardians that we've been seeing as of late. I'm mostly looking towards the cooldown spammage. I think that cooldown reduction is going to be a highlight here for this Oni Warriors draft so far, simply because it is their best measure, and the Cripple Field that RDO is going to be able to bring to the table as well. Could be some nice lockdown up against that Giannis and Terra. Gilgamesh, maybe not so much because he still has the wins of Shamash, so he might be just kind of like, anything you can do, I can do better towards the Oni Warriors, but I just think that the RDO has, if she's paired with another Guardian or another frontline asset here, could be a decent hurdle for the Jade Dragons to try and deal with.
I'm going to have to wait for the 5th and final pick for an answer on where this RDO goes. Neilma has not played RDO in his last 6 games. Hell, I don't know if any support in the league has played RDO in their last 6 games, and so we will wait and see what the Oni Warriors draft 5th and final overall. Morgan Le Fay drops down to the second wave of picks here. So Giannis locked in for the Dragons, and then there's also some mid lane bans from the Dragons. It's the Morrigan, not Morgan, Morrigan gets banned out, and the Hera as well. Both of those picks, or bans, prioritized over this Morgan Le Fay.
It just seems as though the Jade Dragons are placing a lot of emphasis towards the early to mid game because Cerberus as well, yet another god that I think he strips away protection, so it'll be great because if the Oni Warriors are intending to have this RDO in the solo lane, well, it could potentially be Cerberus for Fine OK then as a response. When I'm not going to say it's a direct counter matchup necessarily, but it's definitely annoying to deal with as the RDO player because you can't really be as just up in their face as you would like. And not only that, but I think, again, the protection and strip away makes it a lot more difficult for you to just frontline in the team fights.
I'm trying to remember. So I distinctly remember the one game that got played on AMC. I think it was Panda Cat who played that one game. Gormizer's giving me the thumbs up, and I trust that man with my life when it comes to things like this and maybe things in general. So AMC for Panda Cat once, and now we're going to get it twice. What do you think about AMC at the moment? Obviously not highly rated by the majority of the league. They're just better options, but is AMC a good option here given the draft?
Amuz and Cobb is fantastic here for Panda Cat. He has so much peel as is between that Cerberus, Terra, and Gilgamesh, and just in case, hey, by the way, we've got Threshold, we've got Portals. We have more mobility than you could possibly need in case the Hives weren't doing enough as is, because you have to remember, if Panda Cat, he might even look to prioritize maxing out those Hives earlier on. You have to remember all the movement speed, so he could be zooming, and not only that, but Heim a little bit more punishable in the early game, same for Serket. I think it's a big turn and burn feature here for the Jade Dragons because that Stinger cripples.
It's where my eyes immediately go to. Homeboy has picked up Tainted Steel.
Yep.
Has no technical escape in this game. What's his survivability like?
Well, Terra counter-engage with Earthen Fury. That's one bit of escape. At least you're going to get a burst heal whenever you take a consistent damage. And, well, gods like Serket are going to proc that heal every single time they engage just by nature of how their kit works. Even Dardes with the third ability, the fire, is also going to proc Earthen Fury. So Panda Cat should always be benefiting from that heal. And it's not just the Terra. It's also Yannis keeping him alive.
Well, right now he's taking a little bit of poke. You could see PBM a great stun, not necessarily onto Neil, but onto Vote to make sure that that damage didn't follow up. Panda Cat's early levels might be the roughest on this team. Heimdall is going to have a much easier time, maybe just in general, but at least in the early game. We also have to turn our eyes maybe towards the solo lane. Fine is incredibly low. A couple of minion hits, maybe a smack from Nika could find first blood, but Nika's going to be backing off the minion wave, favoring Fine now.
And you could set up your third ability there as well. I mean, he's bursting buffs from like 100 to 0 already on this Terra pick. And that means that your objective secure, looking pretty good. Your buff invade looks good as well. And Cubo Fred looks good with the juke shoes as he avoids certain death.
I was waiting just patiently, right? Waiting with bated breath. And just enough mobility to make sure he's not going to get hit by through space and time. Question is, will Curly be able to get out of here? Neil Ma with a blink, and they just burn him down. Can't even get to a wall in time to get away from that. PBM left just to watch his mid laner die.
That's a tough one for Hurrywin, who doesn't have his beads. Oni Warriors keeping the pressure up everywhere on the map right now. Again, you get to see that damage from PBM. It is crazy what you can do to buff. Super hard to execute on Cubo, though.
Fred, he's getting pushed out.
He's fine.
Sam looking for the soul. He just jumped forward. He drops the winds of Shamash, the ult, in return from Cubo. And it seems like Sam is going to maybe not walk out of this one alive. He has no mana. Dardes, Nika chasing him down. They're going to punish him for his insolence. He gets too deep in the jungle, and Dardes gets the kill.
Yeah, Sam was out there just trying to pick up his quest item. He meets Cubo and says, all right, well, I'm already here. I've been spotted out. And now Hurrywin in the same situation. Goodness gracious, man. The Oni Warriors keeping pressure up all over the map.
Some pings coming out specifically from the Warriors, I think recognizing that they can have an advantage around this red buff. Dardes walking around the corner and looking to get some poke onto Hurry. Buff does spawn in here. Neil opting to stay aggressive. PBM is in the neighborhood, so is Cubo. This feels like if you overstay your welcome, it might end up hurting you more than helping you. Cubo Fred's made the rotation. Hurwind, a lot of poke missed by Dardes, so his health bar remains full. Cubo starts up the red buff, and they're grouping up to try and defend it. There's going to be the through space in time. They're going to try to kick this off. They're going through the portal. PBM wants to get aggressive and going for the cutoff path to catch up to Neil Ma. The peel from Nika, more than anyone, is enough to help make sure that the Dragons can't continue. Fine OK joins the fray.
Fine, okay, now in. Looking for the Stygian Torment. Finds Dardes. Forces out the ultimate defensively just for the CC immunity, but that should spell the end of that engagement. Oni Warriors able to strip away that red buff, and Sam for Soccer finds a phenomenal wins a Shamash inside of that engagement. Is able to isolate Neilma, who didn't have his dashes available anymore. But because of this deficit, because Sam is playing from behind, he isn't able to stick in there. He isn't able to lock him down.
Poor Panda Cat right now. Isolated, no mana. He tries to return some damage, but there's not much you can do. The stun, the CC, and of course the kill there now for Vote. 4-0. It was almost balanced out there during that last engagement, but the Warriors, Mifflin, just keep getting kills. In fact, they almost wanted more. PBM, as seen by the Pyromancer. The Gold Fury, however, going to do a even better job of bouncing back from a Pyromancer not going their way, pretty much making things maybe go net neutral. PBM's walking in towards it. He's got the damage. Can he get the secure? They're focusing on him, but there's the through space and time. PBM down, and that's going to be the shot. Panda Cat with the kill onto the Fury is going to walk away with his life as of right now. The Dragons get the Pyro, and now they're re-aggressing. It was the crushing earth there from PBM to secure it, and they get a kill onto Neilma as well. Now the Dragons are looking hot.
Man, that is such clean play from PBM, walking up and says, all right, well, you already used all your CC. You think Dardes is going to knock me away? I'm Terra, bud. I am stuck inside of it. Uses the 2 to finish off the Gold Fury itself and out-confirms everyone.
Because this was new Terra tech. When you die, you can reactivate the walls. I think that's what happened. PBM went down incredibly fast, so the walls are still up. Let's watch when he dies, because I believe, no, it was just right before as he died. So, hey, still looks really good being able to get the kill. Left-hand side is immeasurably in favor of the Warriors, but it is the grouping from the Dragons starting up the Pyro. A couple of pings just a second ago from the Warriors. Neil will be able to see that this is going on. Can he do anything about it? PBM style for this one. Hovering around, walks forward. Dragons secure it thanks to the Yanis. Dardes is right here, gets some damage. They're not going to take the fight.
Man, we just got a little look at how much Dardes is swinging for, and it's a fair deal, man. I mean, I know PBM doesn't have the most magic defense, has allotted to go a little bit more physical heavy in the defense with the Lotus Crown, but Dardes doing 30% with poke from that kind of range, kind of ridiculous. Means that given any bit of space, he's going to shift up these fights.
Well, lose a mid-tier 1 and get some pressure on the red buff. Cuvo Neil getting chased down by 5 full members of the Dragons. They're hovering around this Primal Fury. Portal through space and time thrown out. And so once again, a huge ult used by the Dragons. Now that Primal Fury is started up by the Warriors, and it seems like the Dragons are more than content to let this go their way. No one contesting it, everyone falling back. PBM just straight up went to the base.
It's been the only Warriors getting the better end of the majority of these neutral objective trades, but it's the Jade Dragons who find themselves barely in the lead.
That 600 gold can mean just enough.
There's a couple
as
wards
of right now.
6 wards.
Yeah, it's gonna, like, yeah, for dewarding purposes, that actually is going to be very helpful. Look at the sentries that are being thrown down. Deep sentries there from FineOK to try and catch out some vision from the Warriors. Speaking of FineOK, he's going to be able to grab one. Neilma gets pulled back, taken to half health, but it's not going to be enough to find the kill. Cubo does exactly what you highlighted earlier, gets to the background and helps Dardes get the kill. They lose Neil, but they kill Hurry, they kill Sam, and they might just kill FineOK. He's half health, and it looks like he'll be able to run away, even chase him down just a little bit. No neutral objective, but a clean 2-for-1.
Into the back line of the Oni Warriors, unfortunately, does not find a priority target for him. And the fight from there is all Warriors all the way down. And now the Gold Fury seems to be the exact same thing.
Doesn't seem like PBM's going to be able to work that magic 2 times in one game.
Imagine,
Warriors
though.
get themselves the Oni Fury.
So don't have to worry just yet. Regroup and don't have to use any of their utility to close gap.
The glory of having your Hunter over here so early and so cleanly, especially since he's got a Titan's Bane on there as well. It picked up the Titan's Bane prior to the chin size for Vote. Burn down the Pyromancer, no problem. Looks like that might be the route that we see, specifically Panda Cat going into match. Fire Giant is dealing damage. It's taking a little bit, but it seems like this is the bait.
How did Fred get here?
As they wait just a little bit. Fred, yeah, just deep in the back line, waiting for that through line to get to Hurrowwind, and he's going to take it. He dashes forward, but he grabs FineOK this time around, and that's going to be the kill onto the solo laner. Up-down from Sam just results in his own death, and it's a 2-for-none right now. Very low from Neil, low from Cubo, low on the Warriors. but they get exactly what they want.
Legitimately, if Fred isn't standing exactly where he's standing, I don't think that fight goes the way of the Oni Warriors whatsoever. The Dragons, you're dead for a long time. I mean, 20 seconds left on San for Soccer, 15 seconds left on Fine OK. Jade Dragons put in a position where they can't defend the Fire Giant. The question isn't even posed, do you want to? It's not an option. Oni Warriors, they're playing so clean right now, and as a reward for it, 5 members going to have Fire Giant on their belts.
Yeah, they get 5 FGs. I like this from the Dragons, though. Get the Jagger buff. It's not a ton.
Towers, and with the grouping that we're seeing right now, it's pretty clear what the decision is. We're not stepping up. Phoenixes or bust. And I think that's the right call, considering Hurry Wind on this Yanis, and this is a conversation we haven't had to have in a long time, struggles on defense. It's an unorthodox mage. Your abilities aren't nearly as AoE as some of these other guys. You're not putting out that consistent CC that Dardes is. It means that it's likely coming down to a snipe from Hurrywin as the majority of his contribution, or just repositioning your team with that ultimate if you're already winning in the fight. You can chase him out very well, but he's not the best on defense.
Well, Neil wants to get aggressive right now. He blinks forward. He's not going to be able to find a ton. PBM's getting aggressive on the left-hand lane, and Dardes is taking a lot more damage than I think he bargained for. My eyes, Mifflin, are going to be trained mostly, well, mine are on the minimap, but everybody else's should be trained on Cuvo Fred.
One of their best AoE tools on the side of the Jade Dragons. That's a pretty big commitment to stop just one guy from pushing, and one guy also stealing your speed buff, Cuvo Fred, able to pick that one up pretty easily, giggling jungler style. But Oni Warriors seem to be pretty happy with what they've acquired so far. A couple tier 1s, some tier 2s, and now the Primal Fury as well. Still a full minute to play with on this Fire Giant, but you gotta think they're headed back to base to spend all that gold. That's probably another 20 seconds lost.
I'll accept it, because I don't know whether or not you're true. 9,000 gold up, 31 and a half minutes in now, as we determine whether or not gold and golds match up. It's approaching pretty quickly 10,000 gold. If they get the Pyromancer, Warriors will be able to break that. PBM a little deep. Fine OK goes in aggressive as well as the through space and time. They want to make this one pop, and they want to make it pop now, but they're not getting any damage. There's no follow-up, Mifflin. The Warriors are more than okay right now. Cuvo gets away. That's 2 heavy ults invested from the Dragons.
Hits nothing, and the Oni Warriors, well, you can see it on the map. They're healthy. They're feeling fine.
And a beefy minion wave over there on the left. Hey, this looks familiar, this exact positioning. This time, they see him, a little bit, but can they kill him? Can they thwart him? They see it. Look, there's 3 wards where Cuvo is hanging out. They know he's looking to make the rope around, but it's the Fire Giant that is the prime target. Half health through space and time, comes back up. Through space and time, goes right through every member, but they're getting a lot of damage onto Vote. He's going to fall back. Sam eats his health bar for the trouble. The poison is taking. The poison is enough. Cuvo Fred gets the kill onto the jungler. Fine OK goes deep into the backline, but it's Vote who uses the Bifrost to chase him down, throws out an auto, tells him to get on out of here, and they're going to look once again towards the FG. There's a lot of low health bars.
Enhanced Fire Giant this time around, and as you highlighted, Dardes is not feeling good, but Cuvo Fred catches Hurrywin out in the jungle, costs him 80% of his HP bar, and costs the Jade Dragons their mid laner if they want any hopes of defending this Fire Giant. It seems to be that they're willing to let this one go yet again. Oni Warriors, 10,000, maybe closer to 12,000 gold up. Enhanced Fire Giant, very good right now.
12,000 gold, 2 Phoenixes, as you had highlighted, exposed. 34 minutes. It only took him a little bit after the last update to get things together. Cuvo Fred has damn near no mana as of right now, but it's not going to stop him from going in. He grabs Fine OK and just throws him back to get him out of the way. They get the Phoenix, and they get on out of there. They still have 3.5 minutes to play. This Fire Giant, well, they're getting an Oni Fury. They've got Fire Minions in mid, so that's an Oni Fire Wave. The Dragons are all grouped up in their base as of right now. The beads available for Dardes. It was about 30 seconds out, about 30 seconds ago. Now he's going to be getting the Aegis back up. So everybody's feeling the safety in the game. Relics at a neutral state, ults at a neutral state, and into the left Phoenix the Warriors go.
And look at that. Vote pops the Elixir of Power. If he's given any opportunity to touch the Phoenix, I'm pretty sure that was one auto attack from the Heimdall that drops this Phoenix to like just around 80% HP. The Jade Dragons have to keep them out.
Well, Neil gets aggressive, goes for the blink. There is going to be the Curse Dog as well. They're taking down the healing, but Dardes is the one who's low. One more hit is all it'll take. PBM is able to get there, and now they are falling, dropping like flies. 3 members gone, make it 4. The turnaround from the Dragons, the re-engage around their Phoenix leaves only Cuvo Fred alive. Fire minions, Oni Fire minions still threatening right here in mid. And you can see Sam looking to take care of it, looking to take care a little bit more as he's chasing down Cuvo. Heroine's here. They're still trying, maybe too hard for this kill. The rest of the team is starting to onslaught down the mid lane.
Yeah, I mean, you don't really need all the boys there. As long as your late game AMC is around, he should be able to clear out these towers pretty easily. And that's the haymaker, man. That's what Hurrywin's been looking for this entire time. It's through space and time, clips Dardes, doesn't kill him, does drop him down to 2%
20
HP.
seconds.
Yeah, this late in the game, you keep throwing haymakers, eventually you're going to find that knockout punch. I think the Dragons might even go for the win here.
I mean, low health bars, the Phoenix is their
No way,
target.
they can't.
Yeah, it's taken a little bit too long. 5 seconds before Dardes is back, and that's pretty much the timer on all of the Warriors. Cuvo is not enough to save this Phoenix. Now, Fire Minions for Fire Minions, but one's way closer to respawn.
Fire Giant. I mean, Fire Minion Wave is going to be favoring the Jade Dragons. Sure, Gold is still largely in favor of the Oni Warriors, but 38 minutes in, Gold is like, irrelevant, really.
I mean, look at the builds.
Yeah, they're all full. We're talking elixirs and wards. That's really the only separators. I mean, relic.
Or if they decide to start a fight. You had mentioned Cuvo Fred. A lot of these deep wards last time caught him out on his rotations. Right now he's hanging out in mid, the best ward you can have, the minions, showcasing where his positioning is going to be. And again, damage is high at this point. Fire Giant going to be baited out by the Dragons this time around. And they're going to get a decent chunk of damage on it, trying to get the Warriors to take the bite. But nobody does. In fact, the Warriors are playing more cautiously than ever. Cuvo is backing.
Yeah, I mean, the Warriors, they realize that it's not a whole lot of threat that the Dragons are generating right now. Cuvo Fred does actually go back to base, so this is an opportunity for the Dragons to force this engagement, and it's fine. Okay, in first.
And he's going to go in.
He did it again!
Beads, he uses his ult, and there is Dardes with no health left. Sam Soccer jumps into the back line with the help of Heroine, finds the kill onto the mid laner. Neil Ma is getting chased down. One more hit is all it takes. Panda Cat, credit for that kill, and now the onslaught begins. The Dragons, they only had to hit 2 massive punches this game, and it took them 40 minutes to get to this point, but there's still 3 members defending. They're on the right side Phoenix, and they're pushing forward, but it's not falling nearly fast enough. They have no Fire Giant, and they get the kill on the bird, and they look towards mid.
Fire Minion Wave just on the door of the Phoenix here. Mid Phoenix likely going to fall down very quickly, and we still have 40 seconds left on both Neil and Dardes. Give Hurrywin 40 tries with his ultimate. He only needs 2. The Jade Dragons moving in.
The minions are here, so are all the Dragons. Vote is already half HP and pushed out. In fact, Cuvo doesn't have any life to work with. He is forced into the fountain. The Titan is falling fast. Nika doing everything in his power. Vote's able to get a kill onto Sam, but it's not enough to turn this one around. 38 minutes of control, and they still got dunked on by the Dragons. Heroine smacked him hard.
Trying to deal with the Terra. There are just so many strong counter-initiation factors here, and I mean, again, I have to reference Nika from that interview that we had before this set even took place. Jade Dragons, they're a team where you give the slightest slip-up, and they just punish you for it. Granted, Jade Dragons not exactly punishing the Oni Warriors throughout the entirety of this game after that Gold Fury steal from Polar Bear Mike, but on that same note, it was really just these Giannis snipes, and then on top of that, there's no real escape once you approach this super late game aspect, because gold, experience leads, all that goes right out the window. Everybody's all caught up, everybody's level 20, everybody's full build, so at that point, you're just praying that you don't get waxed by a through space and time, and unfortunately for Dardes, he just wasn't able to stand strong.
I mean, the mid replay in this replay package was at 36 minutes. The Oni Warriors have like a 15,000 gold lead in there. Fire Gianted up, sieging the Phoenix of the Jade Dragons. And after that fight is when you and I verbally were talking in the green room and said, the Jade Dragons are going to win this game, because that fight didn't feel all that convincing. Big damage numbers from Dardes here in this game, 28,000. And see if there are any pivots here from the Oni Warriors. They're going to be in that second pick slot, so the Jade Dragons still kind of with the steering wheel here. And if you're the Jade Dragons, I mean, this is always so hard to predict, isn't it? What do you change? What don't you change? Because it's all in the mind of the coach and the players themselves. But if you're the Jade Dragons, I'm not sure you change much.
Well, I'm actually on the other end of that, Dave.
Sure.
I think that the Jade Dragons definitely sweating a little bit there in that early to mid game, because had the Oni Warriors actually been able to maintain the same pressure that we saw in the jungle underneath those Phoenixes, then I think we would have seen this game over by the 30 to the 35 minute mark tops. But unfortunately for them, that's where they fell short. But the Jade Dragons, that was not a clean look for them in game number 1, and they know it. Those player cams, I think, say enough as is. You can read some of the frustration, I think, in the players' faces. Like, they're not satisfied. Like, obviously they're happy, I'm sure, that they won game number 1, but the fashion in which they had to go through that ordeal, it can still be a little detrimental on the mental, because Jade Dragons really, they had no control over what was happening for the most part.
They did not make it easy on themselves, and I think it's a totally valid point. So maybe let's wrangle ourselves a little more early game control. Let's not make it as difficult on ourselves as we did in game 1. There's the mentality here from the Jade Dragons. Giannis taken away by the Oni Warriors, as well as the Yamoja and the Tiamat. So Hurrywind have to dig a little bit deeper into that God pool. Gilgamesh first and foremost here for the Jade Dragons. You know, that's kind of tried and true at this point. Not too much to pick apart as far as why we're seeing Gilgamesh prioritized there. What he brings to the game, I don't think can be understated. So a strong first pick that still leaves the door open for some flexibility.
Yeah, when I was mentioning some adjustments maybe for both sides as far as the Jade Dragons are concerned, you can't really ever go wrong with Gilgamesh. Pick just screams pressure, definitely has that early and mid-game elements as well as the late-game aspects to boot. But Oni Warriors, I think that this could be a prime opportunity for them to maybe look to strip away that Terra, because they already banned one part that I think was really giving them a lot of issues in that late game. I like this adjustment, though, into the ROM. I do believe that Astral Barrage could definitely have a little bit more of a team-fighting impact in comparison to the Heim, because Heim, you actually have to be in the fray in order to get that ultimate off, sending people to Niflheim, but Rom's on the other end of the spectrum there.
Yep.
He just gets to fire off his damage from safety, ideally, and it could be great when paired alongside of the Circuit, because you just have a lot of dive and chase.
Right, and I was going to ask if you like the run back of the Circuit, but I think talking about how it pairs with Rom may be a good thing here. And it's such an interesting point you brought up, where the team that won the game maybe feels like they have more to change just because of the way 95% of that game went. So if you're the Oni Warriors, maybe you don't have that much to change, and you're just thinking, all right, well, let's try to end the game more effectively here this time. Let's try to end things a little bit quicker. But we'll wait and see how the rest of the drafts end up rolling out. It's going to be different from PBM this time. Fafnir and then a Raijin there as well. Talk about a strong first 3. You get a lot of picks that a lot of guys on the Jade Dragons are going to be comfortable with.
Dragons know that the early to mid game is where they struggled the most, but the response of the Hera is a really interesting take here for Dardes. Yes, not going to allow Dardes to have to be forced to wait to take a pick that's maybe not as ideal. I like the Hera primarily because of that polymorph transformation. I think that is a great forced disengage factor that now this Fafnir, this Gilgamesh are going to constantly have to be on the lookout for whenever they're trying to be aggressive. And not only that, but when you have Argus just drops right on top of Raijin's head whenever he's looking for that Taiko drums, you have to remember he's fairly stationary in that. So combining Argus's DPS with that clash as well from the rest of Hera's kit on top of the Circuit and the ROM. This is great burst already from the Oni Warriors. As far as rounding things out, though, Jade Dragons, they're not going to give Onis a chance to take that Terra for themselves.
Yeah, strong ban there from the Jade Dragons. Heimdall and Kabrakan both taken away by the Oni Warriors, and then Kepri will round out our ban phase here. So Neoma not going to get the Yamoja, not going to get the Terra, not going to get the Kepri or the Fafnir. Ymir is still around. Ymir is a very popular support ban, and so could be something that the Oni Warriors are considering here. No real surprise, though, or there would be a surprise, I think, is the way I'll word this, on the Hera pick, if it were anyone but Dardes playing, but this is the type of pick that Dardes specifically does so well as. So a strong Hera pick there. If you are the Oni Warriors here, I bring up Ymir. your mind might be a little bit more flexible, and you're not going to have to predict. The Kuzenbo locked in here for Neoma. 25% win rate across 8 games. Maybe a chance to increase that here for the Warriors.
Just further reinforces, though, the rest of this Oni composition, because a lot of the Oni comp is largely just distance from afar. They have really consistent range damage right now, and Kuzenbo as well have to factor in shell spikes. Maybe a Thorns option might be eligible here for Neilma as well with this Kuzenbo, and he might just look to play kill hurry win the entire game, because I think that Kuzenbo definitely one of the better Guardians at just locking down a singular target, and Raijin, he does a lot of damage, but if he's having to receive some of that reflection damage for it, could put the Jade Dragons in a tight spot here. Chernobog being toyed around with. I was going to suggest maybe a Chernobog or the Hachiman even for the Jade Dragons. Has those attack speed steroid stims that plays really nicely into the Odibo builds. Also just does a decent job, I think, at faring up against the likes of Rom and some of that Astral Arrow early game clear pressure. But not only that, global asset.
There you go. Chernobog is locked in, and so all of those points you make are entirely valid there. Something that Panda Cat is going to be able to use to rotate around the map. Kuzenbo, so much backline disruption as well, not only from range, deflecting back some of that damage, but if and when Neilma is able to find his way there, that ultimate just so obnoxious to deal with. Cullen falls all the way down to the last pick here for the Jade Dragons, 9th pick overall. So now we get a look at their completed draft. Gilgamesh, Fafnir, Raijin, Chernobog, Cullen. What's the name of the game here for the Jade Dragons?
And this is really just going to hinge upon whether or not Jade Dragons are able to instantly take out the Hera or take out the Rom, because those are going to be the 2 prime candidates. I think that Kubo with the Circuit, maybe a little bit too much mobility. Kuzenbo, you never really want to be focusing the Kuzenbo unless you're looking to just punish him in the early game. And I guess the Cullen is interesting because it's really just the knock-up that you have to play around. And if the Jade Dragons are relying on Cullen for his AoE presence, it kind of plays and synergizes decently with the Fafnir and the Gilgamesh, but I would still probably be on the lookout for just trying to kill the Hera first. And it's almost like these two teams have the same exact mentality, just whoever kills the other's mid laner is probably going to be the one with the leverage.
Wow, Hercules locked in for the final pick here for the Oni Warriors.
Jade Dragons, thanks to Fine OK. So the lane likely won't be too rough, but Neoma on the Kuzenbo is going to be super annoying for Sanford Soccer to deal with, because that Watery Grave being CC immune means that once you're in that Winds of Shamash, Sam kind of wants to just stick in there, deal damage, and make sure that CC rings true. Well, you're getting knocked up consistently. You're not really able to utilize that ultimate to its full efficacy. And Hurry Win, going to struggle. That Taiko drum, pretty easy for Kuzenbo to kind of press 2, stand in front of you, and say, good luck.
Ooh, Herwind going to take a little bit of damage, a little taunt thrown his way. The jump in from Sam, some damage onto Cuvo. And, well, I was going to say maybe nobody's going to fall. It looks like that's going to be the way it is. Cuvo is precariously low. All it takes is a little bit of setup, and that can go a long way. The minion wave favors Dardez and the Warriors. And so, no first blood as of
It
yet.
does have some slight differences to Frenzy, for example. So you're getting 15% more power instead of 15% increased damage dealt, and power is always going to be a little bit less valuable as it is mitigatable by defense, but it's that versatility of the Bracer affording you movement speed when you're sub 50% HP in a game like Game 1, where I feel like the majority of team fights were dictated by vision. Having additional vision can only feel good. Neilma not feeling very good, dropped down to about 50% HP, realizes that the 2v2 is not very advantageous for the Jade Dragons. Fafnir and Chernobog together likely aren't going to put out the same damage potential or fight potential that a Kuzenbo and Rom has, so instead wants to leave it up to the 1v1. Chernobog up against Rom in the 1v1 is maybe a little bit more favored towards the Jade Dragons, as he is going to have just more damaging abilities. I mean, abilities that actually deal damage. So Chernobog has a slight early game advantage in that he just has better poke.
Well, the Dragons wanted a red buff steal and get a red buff steal. They're able to scoop that one away from the Warriors. Dardez is now going to be, well, I guess sad is the only way I can choose to describe it. He's not going to have his red buff, and so hitting a little less hard. than what we're going to be used to seeing. Herwind, however, is going to be just fine. In fact, they're going to be jumping in on Neil. There's going to be a stun against the wall. The Taiko drums. And look, those body blocks, the control from the Dragons. They find first blood up against Neil Ma.
Mia Mobile relies on a health shield and her buddy Argus to keep her alive. Things like Thunder Crash, things like a leap in from Gilgamesh, even the Blink ultimate from Final K can all make it very, very hard for someone like Dardes to survive.
Well, Pyromancer started up by the Jade Dragons. We're 12 minutes into the game. They've gotten a single kill that is on the board, but that Pyromancer is going to help equalize things just a little bit more in their favor. Still leaning towards the Warriors.
That's a lot of XP.
That's a lot of experience, hovering over 3,000. And it's been great. PBM forced to transform next to those Oracle Harpies. He's going to be able to disengage, but that is a clean ult to pull away from the Dragons. So the Warriors using their advantage, and you had highlighted this next Fury, in fact, first Fury, is going to be maybe more important. In fact, PBM gets caught out a second time. Good taunts from Cuvo Fred, but do they have the follow-up damage? The leap from PBM right into the red buff gets him out of there. Cuvo is still looking for more, and they might be able to find it. It's Herwind and PBM in the jungle versus 4, and that red buff is getting stripped fast.
Yeah, it's gone already. Dardes picks that one up, and stripping away that dragon transformation from the Jade Dragons themselves, Vision maybe favoring the only Warriors around the Gold Fury itself. Neilma able to control the pit there, so someone from the Dragons has to rotate over.
They're going to try to control Vote, not going to get the drop kick on him. Winds of Shamash drop down, Vote up into the sky. If the snipes connect, Sam will die here. One more shot is a double take, but he's not going to be able to connect. Vote comes crashing back down. Neil joins the fray, and Cuvo's hiding in the jungle. Sam gets out with his life. The Warriors have the aggressive positioning. They're going to move forward. It's just going to be the Oracle Harpies for Dardes, and Cuvo, Neil, and Nika have made their big rotations.
Watch Dart as Nika's here, finds PBM. Polymorph not quite on the mark, and Final K finds 3.
What a big knockup from Final K, but no follow-up from the team just yet. Argus gets dropped to keep Dardes alive, but no one's been able to dive on him. Neil Ma is sitting at about 1/3 HP, and he walks out with his life. Argus is the next big health bar for the team. The Warriors are just dancing around, waiting to see if the Dragons are going to pick up a Fury.
Cuvo Fred, but for just general game state, you don't want your carry being like 4 levels down on the enemy ADC, or your jungle rather, and it's very tough for him to pick these spots. Instead, I think it's all about where he's placing this Winds of Shamash.
Well, that's going to come into the equation here. Fury at 1/3 health, and there's a good push from Nika. Sam for Soccer takes a lot of his health bar, but it's Neil who's isolated. The boulder comes breaking through the Dragon. Sam gets thrown back to the Sharks, and they happily chomp down on their lunch, but can Neil get out alive? Great play from the Warriors to peel for their support. They get the 1-for-0 trade. Now, it might not be the Fury, but it's something else to push them further in the game.
Man, there was so much damage from Hurrywind on that disengage. The Taiko drum hit like 3 people 4 times each. Soccer gets caught out, gets pulled in, loses out on his defensive relic as well as engage tool, as Nika's able to push him away immediately after that Winds of Shamash drops. And Cuvo Fred sees a low target. You better believe he's trying to spread that poison.
Micro play has been little bits of damage onto the towers, little bits of vision, maybe even a little bit of a Chernobog ult over here into the dual lane. And oh my god, Panda Cat is getting aggressive, gets a lot of the good hits. Vote just turns tail and runs, but Sam's here, pings a couple of the wards. Look at the positioning of the Warriors. They're making a good rotation. Sam is going to go in, misses the drop kick. Those Winds of Shamash get dropped down, and he's going to call off the aggression because Neil, Ma, and Dardes are here. Argus is dropped. Neil gets aggressive onto the jungler. Herwind is isolated right now. The snipes are going to be good from Vote, but not enough to find the kill just yet. One more hit, and Argus secures the kill for Dardes. A gank gone wrong now as Sam is isolated between 4 members of the Warriors, and just to bounce back and hearken to game number 1, they lead 4-1.
Man, Jade Dragons got so kill hungry there. Panda Cat does drop Vote down to like 20% HP, but Vote still had beads, still had Aegis, had a ton of vision inside the jungle, and when you're spending 20 seconds chasing, that's 20 seconds that the Oni Warriors have to respond to that chase. They send in a ton of people right behind the Dragons as we see Sanford Soccer jump out. Hurrywind jumps in. Just a lot of desync on the macro play. And now Fire Giant being looked at. They're right to do it. I mean, we're 21 minutes in. Maybe it's felt a little bit shorter since there hasn't been so many kills, but Sanford Soccer is still dead. Hurrywind's still dead. Panda still dead. The Oni Warriors playing very well with that timing.
Yeah, not much they have to worry about steal potential. I mean, Final K's quite literally on the other side of the map, and PBM is hanging out mid lane. You are just fine to secure this. Granted, you also have to have the damage to do so. They finally get the Fire Giant, 5 members strong.
Whatsoever. It looks like a split push, actually, with Sam Soccer on the
Yeah.
opposite side. That's another viable strategy, at least able to match some of the goals.
Oh, we'll see if they can do a little bit more than that. Whirlwind
Yikes.
burned down before he can react. That was happening in the first few minutes of game number 1. Now it's happening 23 minutes in. That means he's got 50 seconds to sit in timeout and figure out what he is going to do with this one. Nika gets aggressive, good push. You had mentioned it and called it. That's Phoenix on the left-hand side. And now the pings are coming through. They're extending the gold even further with the tier 2.
Yeah, I think that might be another Phoenix, by the way. I mean, Hurric's dead for 30 more seconds. I think the Oni Warriors could just go ahead and keep walking in. They've maintained the majority of their ultimates.
Now they're going to be able to get aggressive. BBM gets a transfer just before Nika can get the knock-up. Good knock-up coming
Neil.
from Fine. Neil's low. Neil gets shot by the Phoenix as well. Aren't able to close in and kill him. They can't kill Nika. They save the Phoenix. Pyro, because that's the order the Warriors took them in. No Primal Fury, as that was stripped away, so the Warriors have an even easier time, theoretically, around the next Fire Giant. Fire Minion Waves being dealt with by Sam as of right now on the left-hand side of the map, meaning the only other members, or all 4 other members of the Dragons are on the right. Fine, close enough to spot this out. Same thing for PBM. The FG has been started by the Warriors.
50.
And they are getting pretty close to securing it. I mean, Vote's not stopping the DPS just yet. Whirlwind, Panda Cat are zoned out right now by Nika. It's getting lower and lower as the time goes on, but the Warriors finally drop it. They leave it pretty low, and now the Engage is going to be able to drop off. Whirlwind gets burned before he can even react, and the same thing happens to Panda Cat. The 2 carries gone on the side of the Dragons. Dardes gets aggressed on. Fine is looking for the kill, but a great push by Nika saves his life for just a little bit longer. The shield is going to be able to push it even further. Vote gets a kill onto Sam. They kill off Fine. They kill off PBM, and they don't lose a member doing it. 10-1, the Warriors are looking to run down mid and win this game.
The Oni Warriors bait the Jade Dragons into defending the Fire Giant, and well, the Dragons were not ready for it. The target selection there was bad from the Jade Dragons. I mean, some people are on Dardes, Mike's focusing Neilma, Vote dropped low. So many targets dropped low on the side of the Warriors, but it seems like the Jade Dragons could not agree on who they wanted to focus, and this is what happens at the top level of play. When you're not able to agree with your teammates, you get trolled. You get Neilma walking around your base, dragging the Titan around.
Game number 1, they control it for 38 minutes, and then a couple of slip-ups, maybe 37, maybe 36. We can give a little more control over to the Dragons.
This time, appropriate measures to take to try and actually deal with a lot of this pressure that's been coming out of the Oni homies here today, Dave. And we talked about it on the desk. It was just a kill or be killed type of composition from both of these teams, but Dardes seemingly getting the better end of things with this Hera. She is just so hard to micromanage throughout these chaotic team fights, particularly because of the fact that there's a Circuit, but also Neilma with that Kuzumbo just keeping everybody spinning.
Yeah, that the front line and the engage for the Oni Warriors this game felt great. But Dardes did as well. It's one thing for your front line to make all this space, and then your carries have to then be able to capitalize on that. In this Hera, there was some concern around the dive of the Jade Dragons, but look at this. Dardes lives, you got the Polymorph, you got a little sustain, you got some shielding. It all tends to come up Dardes here in this game, and the Hera just looked incredible. And it's such a Dardes pick, isn't it? He goes 4-0-6, and he's making plays like that. The 1-2 punch of Dardes and Cuvo Fred, plus the rest of the setup from the rest of the team, was just too much here for the Jade Dragons.
Pretty painful match for Hurrywin and Panda Cat, I would say. They just did not really get to be factors. I mean, even in a lot of those highlight clips, what did we see? Hurrywin trying to undergo the Taiko drums.
It'll be a little bit more apparent who that might be after picks and bans for game number 3 come to a close. Jade Dragons still in that first ban slot. So, Taco, the Jade Dragons, they've, in game 2, in the first pick slot, banned Osiris, Odin, and Artemis. In game 1, they banned Osiris, Odin, and Artemis. And so the first change we get is the Circuit ban.
Seems as though Cuvo having that ultimate chase down factor as well, because even in circumstances where it seemed as though Hurrywin was about to get away, managed to survive the last breath, suddenly you're Raijin still trying to run away from the likes of a Circuit. So I like that adjustment so far from the Jade Dragons, because taking away at least one out of the 2 problems that I think that we're definitely stemming out from that Oni Warriors composition. Always a good takeaway, and it's going to be the Hera.
Wow.
They don't even want to chance it in the slightest, so now Oni Warriors having to make the decision between whether they want to take out that Morgan Le Fay or just see what the Jade Dragons decide to do next. But Odin could very well become the power pick play here for the Jade Dragons, maybe even that Osiris.
Yep, just to reiterate, in games 1 and 2, the Jade Dragons banned Osiris, Odin, and Artemis, so it is a complete 3 change here from the Jade Dragons, banning out Serket, Gilgamesh, and Hera. Now, not so big a change here for the Oni Warriors. It's been Tiamat, Yamoja, and then something banned out in back-to-back games. Ymir in game 1 filled that 3rd spot, and then Giannis in game 2. So it'll be the exact same bans for the Oni Warriors heading into game number 3. Morgan Le Fay came to mind there, Taco, and Morgan Le Fay is locked in first and foremost here for the Jade Dragons. Is there a risk with Morgan Le Fay, some of that immobility, that you're giving away too much picking her this early on?
Well, as far as risk is concerned, I think the only risk the Jade Dragons had to worry about was Oni Warriors. Like, I had no doubt in my mind it would have been an Odin as an immediate response.
Right? Yep.
Just when you boil it all down, Dolson, we've seen fine okay on Odin. We've seen Nika single-handedly.
Yeah, that game was gross, wasn't it?
He was literally the LeBron of Odin, okay? And now to know that he not only gets the Odin, but also the follow-up team fighting asset with this Artemis. These responses from the Oni Warriors are extraordinary, honestly. I think it's insanity that they managed to get this far with it. And don't get me wrong, Morgan Le Fay, she's definitely strong, but I'm not sure that it outweighs the strength of Odin Artemis team fight capability.
And I will rephrase the same thing for the 3rd time, but I'm going to change it around a little bit here, keep things fresh. Odin and Artemis have been banned in back-to-back games by the Jade Dragons. They are not banned in this game, and the Oni Warriors jump on that opportunity to pick up the Odin and the Artemis. So now maybe a chance to see why the Jade Dragons put so much emphasis in game 1 and 2 on banning out these 2 picks. A different look to start off, though, for the Jade Dragons. They picked both of their carries and then a Cabrakan. And this is kind of high level. What kind of risk do you run in a draft picking your carries this early on? I mean, is that really a disadvantage? Not really. I mean, you get strong carries, but now you got Odin locked in. I mean, are you really all that worried about what the Warriors can pick as counterplay?
For my assessment, I think that the Izanami I think Jade Dragons were kind of forced into taking their Hunter at least. You don't necessarily have to pull your Guardian because you see the Odin. You can assume that Oni Warriors are probably going to try to find another frontline asset to complement it after the fact, but you need, like, whatever ADC you wanted to prioritize pressure with, and I think that Izanami can be a very strong pressure response. Maybe even one of the best in terms of just trying to establish clear dominance in that laning phase. And Dark Portal as well, I think, is going to have a lot of utility in the team fights because with that Khepri now being locked in, if they're able to silence those Scarab's blessings from being able to take effect, then Jade Dragons can find a little bit of leverage, I believe, in trying to counteract that revive potential. But
yep.
I'm still definitely leaning pretty heavily towards this Oni Warriors draft because whether the Jade Dragons like it or not, like, they are a team that's more than capable of high execution compositions. We've seen them do it time and time again. But this is where I think it comes into the discussion of this team that I think they might overcomplicate things for themselves at times. And what I mean by that is that you have the Izanami, you have these, like, seconds, literal seconds to work with to try and prevent Khepri, Odin, Artemis from just, like, overtaking and overwhelming everything in a team fight. But if you're not precise with the timing on your silences, if you're not precise with the lockdown of those Cabrakan walls, you're just going to get turned and burned instantly.
Right. And you mentioned counterplay around the Khepri ultimate, so maybe a sneaky good Thanatos ban here, something that can counter out that Khepri ultimate pretty well. Sam does like Thanatos, so it makes some sense for the Oni Warriors to take away that Thanatos. And Nike ends up being the pick here, Taco. And so with Odin and Nike both on the board, one is going to have to flex into non-solo lane, and we'll wait and see what the Oni Warriors pick a little bit later on. Then we already have a Khepri, so we know it's going to be a mid laner. Does Nike jungle maybe feel a little bit more comfortable than Odin jungle, or could both work?
Nike jungle, I think, is a little bit more comfortable here. I think it's way better suited to just throw Nika onto the Odin here. Don't force Cuvo into taking Odin, because you get way more utility, I think, out of Odin being in that solo lane position with the hybrid base builds. Looks as though Jade Dragons are just going to try and see if they can really just throw all the DPS possible onto the Artemis, kill her before the Scare's Blessing Revive has a chance to take off. Same thing with the Fenrir. So this is a lot of aggression here from the Jade Dragons in the early to mid game. But again, I think that the Oni Warriors just, you know, you see like one or two good pieces.
A lot of damage, and it has a pretty good matchup into the majority of what the Jade Dragons are bringing this time around. I mean, late game team fight, it's all W key for the Oni Warriors, and they've got great gods for it, whereas the Jade Dragons, their peel potential, it's kind of not there. A wall from Fine OK and maybe some tremors from Fine OK, like a stun.
Yo, Fine OK.
Yeah, like maybe yeah, Fine OK is your late game peel, because PBM's playing Fenrir and Sanford Soccer is playing the Tsukiyomi, which is both very aggressive assassins. They got to win early. If you're a Jade Dragons fan, you're hoping for a first blood in like the next 10 seconds, probably.
Well, you know, you've got a little more leeway than just 10 seconds.
You got like 3 minutes.
Point, you know, made and kind of taken here, which is just the outright aggression. We had talked about it. The desk had mentioned it as well.
Wait it out. Wait for that late game team fight, then utilize their composition. I feel like I've said that every game so far in this 3-game set, and it's been their strategy through and through. Dardes, though. Uh-oh.
Taking a little bit of damage here, but he's walking out. That's going to be a good stun. Sam is not able to find the kill. One more hit. Sam goes under the tower.
What?
Sam gets one more on top of it. He takes a tower shot for it, but Dardes still lives. They might even go for the red buff invade. Cuvo Fred is here, so is Khepri, but also PBM, making the numbers advantage in favor of the Dragons. They seem to opt into thinking that this is a bad decision, I think mainly because Sam has half health and no mana.
Dude, Piercing Moonlight from Sanford Soccer, he thinks he's so cool. Scare's Blessing, what's up? Vote is so safe inside of this match, and Dardes being a part of the front line means that he's likely going to be safe as well, because he's always going to be flanked by Cuvo Fred. He's going to be flanked by Neilmon. Nika is going to be there with them as well. I think the Oni Warriors, if they drag this game to 25, 30 minutes from even, it's a long shot win for the Dragons.
It is worth talking about the fact that this is going to be a different pick for Cuvo Fred. It has been this Circuit 2 games in a row, and he's been in the back line. Also worth noting that Sam was able to steal away a blue buff, and Fine OK is just going to show off what he has to offer. Forces the Sentinel of Zeus out of the Nike here. Cuvo Fred jumps under his tower. Fine OK still hanging around a little deep, maybe actually going to help with this pincer onto Dardes, trying to go back to the tower, goes for the ult, gets some damage out there, is just barely alive as of right now. Neil is now the one who's caught out, taking a lot of poke, has the ult going to get used, but are they going to be able to make the save? Cuvo's here, and it's still going to be first blood, but Sanford Soccer goes down. Now Heroin is isolated here. You might lose your mid for this one, and then a good stun from Dardes, and now a rotation from Vote is going to swing this back in favor of the Oni Warriors. Nika's over here, 5.5 minutes in, helps secure PBM, and that'll teach you to go for the Warriors' red big swing, especially because you still have beads on most members of the Dragons there, so maybe not as much clapback right now from the Warriors. And maybe an open opportunity for Sam to continue being aggressive, and this is about as aggressive as you can get. Cuvo's going to watch just as the speed buff gets taken. And I mean, that's enough to fuel you through a set, let alone just to try and finalize a game 3.
But Sanford Soccer finds Nika in the jungle, and Nika locks him inside the cage, but it's just Neilma here for now. All right, well, really.
The rest of the team shows up. Dardes gets the kill, and now it looks like they want a little bit more. Heroin is already 1 HP, and he's going to get smacked down. Cuvo, credit for the kill, 2 for none, as PBM is forced to just run away alongside Fine OK.
That's where the stacks came from. You trade your demons for stacks. Well, save that. Ajax, if you're listening.
Yo, Zhonghui buff,
we're pushing for that. Not that Zhonghui really needs a buff, because look at this.
Wow, yeah, the damage. Oh my god, Heroin is just gone. Cuvo gets credit for the kill, but Dardes did a lot of the effort. Speaking of Dardes, 3-0-3, 6 kills on the board for his team, and he's been a part of every single one. And now they're going to try and push that envelope onto the neutral objective. Gold Fury started up by the Warriors, and not a soul in sight from the Dragons, save for PBM. is actually making more of a contest than I thought he was going to, if I'm being honest with you. Gold Fury will fall before he's able to get anywhere nearby. The Dragons are going to make a proactive play, though, and go for the Pyromancer encounter.
Yeah, it's the exact same thing we saw. I think deja vu. The only thing that's different right now in the pace of this one is that the Oni Warriors have more kills.
So, gold lead, despite the kills reading 6-1 in favor of the Warriors. 18 minutes in, we're looking at a 3,500 uptick for the Dragons, controlling a lot of the gold and a lot of that experience, which is going to make a big difference because we're starting to hit that late game portion. We're 18.5 minutes in, Mifflin, and this is where the grouping from the Warriors can really start to make or break everything the Dragons do. Speaking of which, Sam didn't even get a chance to respond to that one. Dardes, Cubo, Nika just jump him in the jungle, and now they're jumping Heroin right under the tier 1 in mid. A little bit more damage, might be able to find the kill. They haven't followed through just yet. One more hit, and Dardes cleans that one up. PBM, fine, okay. They're going to try to fight this away. It's actually going to be good walls.
Ragnarok picks him up, and Neomod does fall. Fine, okay. Still trying to get involved here, but has a ton of damage ringing into his back.
A good jump from Nika makes sure to put down his opposing solo laner. It's a 3-for-1. They lose Neil, and they're going to scream Worth.
Yeah, Oni Warriors able to get the better end of that trade, but they've been getting the better end of the majority of the team fights so far. They pick Sam for soccer out in the jungle. Hurrywin gets isolated, and being Morgan Le Fay does not have a leap. No Phantom selection for the Jade Dragons means that Nika's cages are always going to find value, and well, there's still 2 members in the grayscale for the Jade Dragons. It's just PBM here for the defense, and just PBM is all it's going to take.
Kills to 2 in this game. It is starting to sit towards a 4,000 gold lead for the Dragons, and that is the important mark to watch. They're getting aggressive on the Dragons, but nobody's taking the bait for the Warriors. This Gold Fury is hanging out, just waiting.
Bro, the Dragons are winning off of confidence alone. They're just playing like they have the better composition, and by nature of it, they're winning because of it.
Oh, now Vote's the one who's caught out one hit.
Nice.
And a good res from Kepri is going to keep him alive, but only for a little bit longer. A great dive from Sam gets the kill onto Vote, and a little bit longer it's going to be a jump onto Neil. PBM secures the kill there, 2-for-0. But the turnaround, Dardes almost has enough, but can't quite kill Fine OK. They isolate Heroin. He's 0-5, but it's cost you everyone on your team so far. Cuvo is running away at the very end, but it's the full-on deicide. It's going to be a Fury or a back and run to the FG.
Yeah, I mean, that's the Jade Dragons walking to duo lane, isolating Vote, finding the pick. Vote gets revived by Neil, but by that point, the Jade Dragons has already done so much damage to the separated Oni Warriors that there's no comeback mechanic. It doesn't matter how good your team fight is if you don't utilize it, and so far, the Warriors have not been doing so. Jade Dragons find themselves with a commanding gold lead. Fire Giant on 5 members. Pyromancer. The bus here. Their team fight is strong, but not strong enough to make up for 9,000 gold and 10,000 experience.
Yeah, the control just outrageously loud in favor of the Dragons right now. PBM gets a stun and a Ragnarok pickup on Neil. Not even able, he didn't have his ult, but not able to use it even if he had. Locked down, CC'd. And remember that gold Fury? Oh, yeah.
This is fake it till you make it, the Smite the game, man. Like, Jade Dragons
0-5.
Yeah, he's 0-5, bro. What are you guys scared of on the Warriors? Neomod dead for 12 seconds, and the Warriors with 4 members have to defend this Phoenix.
They're going to step up this time to fight, but the minions are here and they're ready to go. That Phoenix is dying incredibly quickly, and it's just going to take a couple more hits, but they're not going to be able to find it. PBM jumps away and maintains his life. Heroin gets his first one on the board, kills off Dardes. Panda Cat does go down, though. This is a good fight from the Warriors. They wipe 4, almost 5 of the Dragons. It's just the catch-up for PBM, showcasing what their team fight can do when they finally put it together.
Gore, I am raging, bro. That was a 4 versus 5 against Jade Dragons with the largest lead they've had so far this game with Fire Giant on 5 members. By the way, Neomod dead that entire engagement. He wasn't there. You're not even utilizing one of the best tools of your team fight, the revive for one of your teammates, and the Oni Warriors win it handily. And it's not off the back of individualistic.
Maybe start DPS on the FG and see what they can get the other team to bite on. Worst case scenario, and that's, engagement, you get a Pyromancer. Best case scenario, you get a couple of kills. I guess actually the worst case scenario is your team gets wiped and then you lose the game. And
yeah.
that's definitely...
That sucks.
Yeah, that one blows as far as scenarios can go. Pyromancer is just a little bit away. Warriors going to be able to clean that one up. Cage going to be dropped by Nika. PBM pulled into the wall. The damage is nowhere to be found from the Warriors, though. And that's going to be the frenzy jump in from PBM. The same dive coming in from Sam, but he is isolated and alone. The Fire Giant gets a little bit of the damage, and Vote is the one who cleans up the kill. Now a good stun from Nika could be all they wrote. The rest of the Dragons run back.
Prowess
Warriors
on display yet again. How often is it that you have a team that is roughly 8,000 gold down, able to just fight in handily like that and win out? I would argue that the Oni Warriors at this 8,000 gold deficit, 31 minutes of the game, are favored in the engagements.
We'll see if they can keep that up. Hey, guess what? Here's the Nika cage. Panda Cat is isolated in this one. The card is thrown on him. He goes for the dash, but Nika is chasing him down. The up-down jump is going to secure that. Dardes is low in the back, but they're not able to secure the kill. Once again, a 1-for-none in favor of the Warriors, and they fall back.
This time, a much more valuable target picked up. Panda Cat dead for 50 seconds, and that was the Warriors fighting without their strengths. I mean, Neoma's ultimate still down from that first skirmish, knock you out of your stealth as well, and the front line of the Oni Warriors is an unstoppable force.
Almost able to beat their timers. Nika, that Breastplate of Valor, doing a lot of work. Almost has his ult available one more time. PBM is the one who's getting locked down, forced to use the Ragnarok. The shield is going to be good, but maybe not good enough. He has to leap out of the cage from Nika. He stays alive, but that is more than you could say for fine. Okay, Vote gets the Scarab's Blessings, trying to get it to burn, but it's not going to pop in time. Sam is able to secure the Hunter on the other side, but it's going to cost him his life.
Wow!
He gets two, and he stays alive as of right now. Finally, the follow-through from the Warriors, but he gets the duo lane for himself. That is a good trade from Sam. Another objective, and they have a 9,000 gold lead right now, Mifflin, but you wouldn't know it from the way this is being played.
No, it's a dead even match. 34 minutes in, gold's starting to mean less and less as time goes on. It's about elixirs and wards now, and you should be able to afford wards every time.
PBM looks to get locked down. He ults, gets the shield, and has that CC immunity. Neil is going to be able to stay alive this time. The dive from Fine-OK isn't enough. Dardes gets the kill, and Vote is saved by Neil. The head, though, Panda Cat's able to pick up one in return, and they're finding a second one. Panda Cat looking to continue the onslaught. PBM is the only low member in this engagement for the Dragons, mainly because Fine-OK died in the process. They go 2-for-1, and each fight steadily transferring in favor of the Dragons.
Dardes acting as a frontliner inside of this Zhonghui means that he's a priority target that is very easy to hit for the Jade Dragons, and Panda Cat at 100% HP. That entire engagement was recasting. Hurrywin ends that fight at 100% HP as well. Vote was under threat the entire time. Oni Warriors, man, they got to work their way forward with this draft.
Confidence versus strength as of right now. Fire Giant is being taken by confidence. The Dragons are the ones aggressing onto it. Nika jumps in, gets the stun onto Sam, and Cuvo Fred goes to the backline, gets the slow onto Panda, but now he's isolated, and the damage dealers are getting a priority target. Panda's going to be able to kill him outright. The fire still incredibly low, and the Warriors forced to fall back. Nika should have eyes, but is it going to be too late? Yes! The Dragons secure this one for all 5 members. Defense position from the Warriors, and the fact that they have a 6th man in the Phoenix is even better for them.
Yeah, now they're actually having to do it into 5 members of the Oni Warriors here. Every single one of them up and ready.
Neil's going to get aggressive. He goes in, forces beads out of Nika, and they're turning the damage around like it's nothing. I mean, Sam takes most of his health bar, but Dardes, as well as Neil, are almost burned out. Cuvo gets burned down completely, and now it is the true 4v5. They do not have the Nike for this fight.
Dardes uses that ultimate a little bit too early on, puts himself in a position where he can't blink in aggressively, so Sam for Soccer walks away. Dardes does not connect his stun, and, well, Sam able to sustain back up with the enhanced Fire Giant, and Bloodforge is ready for this second Phoenix.
That's going to be Nika going in. A great cage, gets 4 members of the Dragons, but they almost burn Nika down in the process. The heal and the res from Neil is going to be enough to keep him going, but that means Vote won't have that if they get aggressed on, and Vote is getting aggressed on. Fine-OK runs straight to the backline and forces them to run back to the fountain. The Dragons are running into the Titan room, and they're burning that Titan down faster than the Warriors can reply. It doesn't matter if you need any more kills. Cuvo was all they picked up. 2 Phoenixes and a Titan.
The Jade Dragons largely circulating around. The picks just having to take place. The execution had to be perfect, and the Jade Dragons just continue to deliver. I mentioned the overcomplications because this just feels like a team that is just so individually strong, mechanically speaking, that they manage to pull it off with, I think, drafts that honestly, Dolson, probably have no business being, like, handling the Oni Warriors composition as well as they did. They just, they saw the Oni Warriors hesitate, and they leaped on it.
They did, and they had a composition that felt kind of perfect for that. Panda Cat in these fights was nuts. Look at this. The Oni Warriors, they're winning the beginning of this fight, and Panda Cat on Izanami, 37 minutes into a game, we're full build, is chilling in the back line, slinging autos in to the Oni Warriors, and you're going to be hard-pressed to win a fight when that's the case. 6-2-4 for Panda Cat. Everyone else on the Jade Dragons received, outside of PBM, received a healthy serving of deaths. Sanford Soccer with 6, Hurrywin with 6, but 26,000 damage, and also 28,000 for Hurrywin. Got to give a shout-out there. Playoffs. And now we'll get a quick look at those standings, and this is what's important. So 1 win behind the Kings and the Bolts. And hey, the Jade Dragons, Taco, get to play both the Kings and the Bolts in 2 of their last 3 matchups. And so when I say control your own destiny, certainly feels that way. And those are going to be some fun ones to watch.
Without a doubt, Jade Dragons, kind of just the epitome of the whole saying of, it's not about how you start, it's about how you finish. And for them, they could potentially look to close things out as the #1 seed heading into the playoffs here for Split 2. But again, it's going to come based on how their performances vary up against the Camelot Kings and the Bolts later on.
And the Bolts matchup is what we'll have to round out the week on Sunday. Jade Dragons versus Olympus Bolts. What a way.